Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast from Belly Up Sports TV, the 1:30 from the ATL, sponsored by Manscaped. Huge sponsor tonight. With me is Adam Kalehi and myself, Joshua Sobel. Alan, welcome.
Thank you. Adam Kalehi. That's a new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
No problem.
But yeah, man, big race tonight. Race 2 of 4 here in the Belly Sports 4-race shootout, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. This Atlanta surface, very old, the oldest in all of NASCAR. So these cars are going to be sliding all over the place. So it should be another wild one tonight.
Absolutely, and the guys are qualifying right now, but as they are qualifying, go over to tonight's race, starting with the standings here. Tate Lytle bringing us to first place at Talladega last week, up in first in points as well too. And it's crazy if you look at this leaderboard here. We actually have a four-way tie for fifth spot with 3 different teams in that spot. Brian Smith, Joseph Causey, Joshua Personette, and Greg Olnick, all part of that group for the top 5. So as we're going through here, go ahead and see if we can catch up with some of these guys in queue. Right now, Nick Massey is on the pole, sitting at a beautiful 29.83. And we still got a couple of guys out there. Scott Crump looks like he hasn't gone yet. He is on his lap currently.
And Crump did have the fastest time in practice, so definitely expect a strong lap from him here. But one thing that's going to be interesting to see is, you can sit here and run hot laps all you want, but once the race actually starts, it's all going to be about saving tires. We were watching practice, and I mean the runoff of these tires is rapid. I mean, we're talking about a second lost every 10 laps that they're out there. So that is a lot of time lost due to tires. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be all about saving tires in this race. But at the same time, when you save tires, you're trying not to give up positions, because as the run goes on, it becomes even harder and harder to pass when you have to go out of your lane in order to make the pass. So definitely going to be interesting to see these guys try to balance out saving tires while also keeping their position.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight's fuel run's pretty surprising. We're looking at about 50 to 55 laps on a fuel run, given how most of these guys were probably running real hard in practice, doing hot laps and everything else. I think with the fall off with a second per lap, that's pretty insane if you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. I tell you what, I've never seen Atlanta's surface up close, but I actually got a chance to walk on the old Darlington surface before the repave. I think their repave was in 2006, somewhere around there. But before that, it was the mid 90s since the last repave. And that's very similar to here in Atlanta. The last repave was in 1997. When the track was configured from what it originally was, which was an oval, sort of similar to Homestead, to what it is now with the tri-oval. And if it's anything like Darlington, it is extremely rugged. I mean, you're talking black top with, you ever walked on the old kind of cheap black top with like the stones kind of sticking up? I mean, that's what it's like. That's what the old Darlington pavement was like. And I can imagine that's very similar to that type of surface here at Atlanta. And so, yeah, I mean, you can imagine how rough of a ride that is and what it does to tires. So that's why that runoff is as great as it is, and it's definitely going to play a factor here tonight.
Absolutely. As the guys are finishing up qualifying, we're actually going to go quickly through here, and we're looking at 130 laps tonight. It's going to be no quick repairs, and you're going to have 6 sets of tires, which is probably going to come in handy. With 50 to 55 laps of a fuel run, I'm not expecting these guys to go through 6 sets of tires whatsoever.
Just going to depend on when the yellow flags fly. I mean, I think that these guys are going to come in and get those tires whenever they can, because you are going to get left in the dust if you're one of the only ones out there on old tires. And by old,
Absolutely.
I mean 10 laps or more. Not, we're not talking about 50 lap old tires. We're talking 10 lap old tires.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting, especially with that drop off. Atlanta is always a really loose track. Most of these tracks we come to, it seems to be the same thing. It's just loose. So we got to see these guys kind of battle the cars here and see how everything goes. But we're going to go ahead and get through the grid here. Sponsored by Manscaped. Use Belly Up Fantasy for 20% off the whole cart when you visit manscaped.com. Take a look at their special offers as well too, which includes free boxers, free travel bag, and free shipping. Do your balls a favor and get the right tool for the job. And starting in our pole position, we're looking at Brian Smith, someone we haven't really talked much about up front. That's number 78. Beside him, Brian Mercurio in the 41. In row 2, Nick Massey in the 48, sitting third. Brad Herman sitting fourth in the 85. Row 3, Scott Crump and Kenny Lowry. And row 4, Gerard Campbell and Damian Lineker, rounding out the top 4 there.
In row 5, we have the number 9 car of, or excuse me, the number 56 car of Tate Lytle starting 9th. Then we have outside of him the 25 car of Dean Brummett starting 10th. In row 6, sorry, just keeping count. The starting 11th is David Duke in the number 16 car. And then to the outside of him is Josh Robin in the number 61 car starting 12th. Starting 13th, Jacob Smith. To the outside of him will be Adam Pettit in the 57 car. Then starting in row 8 is Hank Steinmiller and Joshua Adams.
It actually looks like that's going to round out. No, okay, I was going to say, I know we have definitely more than that.
Yeah, switched it up on me.
Yeah, I was like, what? Starting 17th, we got Dylan Thomas, and beside him, Tyler Riggs in 18th. Starting 19th and 20th, we got Daniel Baudler and Christopher Morse. 21st, we got Joseph Kazi and Greg Olnick. 23rd, we got Chad Wilson, and 24th, Brandon Bowering. I got to get these names right, man.
It's all good. And then rounding out the field is the 83 car of Chris Massey. To the outside of him is the 18 car of Jake Rowell. And starting last is the 03 of Brian Crocker. And as we finish that out, green flag flies.
Yeah, big group here tonight at Atlanta. So it's going to be interesting to see where these guys fall on these first couple of laps.
Yeah, we're seeing some strategy already. The 25 car of Dean Brummett sticks to the outside there. He's, I think, voluntarily given up some spots in order to save those tires.
Yeah, finally someone who's actually back up front, who was having a lot of trouble last race over at Talladega was Nick Massey in the 48. Luckily, it seems like he's got everything put together and is actually in the top 3 right now. He's Scott Crump kind of sitting there, seeing what's going on. The top 4 single file right now. No one doing anything drastic, but Kenny Lowry in the back here got a big little battle going on for 7th. And that 22 Stay Tuned car inside of him.
That Lineker in the black number 12 car, he has gotten loose both on the front stretch and the back stretch that last lap. So that's something you certainly don't want to do. You don't want to slide those tires. It upsets the car and it can hurt you in the long run. So these guys are going to try to keep these cars as straight as they can without sliding those tires.
Absolutely. Tate Lytle, who was our winner last race at Talladega, sitting 9th currently. He's actually battling Dean Brummett there in the 25. He's going to take that spot away coming off of turn 4. And now it looks like we got a decent little gap from 10th to 11th. Second pack starting up, it looks like.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be interesting. I mean, to see what strategy is being played out right now. I mean, a lot of these guys, I can guarantee you, they're trying to take it just a little bit easier than everybody else. But at the same time, you don't want to give up so much track position that the tires that you save don't become worth it. You know, you end up saving those tires, and all it gets you is to where you would have ended up if you hadn't, you know, taken that extra step to save those tires. So, you know, there's just a fine balance, and it's just gonna, you know, we're just going to have to wait and see where these cars end up as the run goes on.
Absolutely. You're going to have those guys that are going to want to push early, as we see Brian Mercurio on the 41 and Scott Crump on the Stay Tuned Sports team already pushing to the front, getting past Brian Smith there in the 78. And then you're going to see guys who are really going to be like dropping back, like Tyler Riggs, who had a decent finish at Talladega. Unfortunately, got involved with his teammate who was in the lead, Joseph Causey there, and you know, not the way you want to finish it out, but he's actually sitting 16th. So you got guys who are actually going to do their best to save as much as they can.
Yeah, and right now you see the top 3 kind of separating themselves from the rest of the field, but that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on, whether these guys just continue to pull away, or what I think will happen is in about 10 or 15 laps, we're going to see some other cars start to catch up to them and you know, try to put a run together.
Absolutely. Taking a board of Dean Brummett here, sitting 5th. Oh, and Leininger back there in the 12 got a little bit of help, it looks like. Good save from him, sponsoring that Belly Up Sports scheme. Kind of a throwback with the racing stripes a little bit.
Yeah, and he just apologized in the in-game chat. So apparently he did just get loose there on his own. But yeah, he's having some struggles early on in this race. But you know, that's the good thing about there being, what, 130 laps. Still plenty of time to, you know, to get yourself straightened out, to get back up there. And even if you know, if you get loose too many times, you can do some real damage to these tires. But that's the good thing. You know, there's 6 tire sets in this race. So, you know, if you mess up this tire set, first pit stop, you can go in and get new ones and kind of give yourself a reset there.
Absolutely right on board with Brian Smith right now, as he's still kind of following along behind Scott Crump there. Brian Mercurio is actually kind of running away with this, about a 4/10 of a gap between him and his teammate Scott Crump.
And we're seeing Dean Brummett in the 25 car. He just smacked the wall. We've got another car that hit the wall going into turn 3. That's the 22 of Kenny Lowry.
And Dean Brummett gets into Brad Herman there.
Yeah, quite a few cars with some struggles there. Now we've got a 3 wide on the tri-oval. This is not going to go well. We'll see if these guys can keep it together here.
Yeah, a lot of excitement coming in the back of the field here. Yeah. Dean back up in that wall.
Yeah, Brummett in the wall again. He is struggling with that car right now.
Everyone's trying to scatter, getting around, don't want to be involved in this, but it looks like he doesn't really have a whole lot around him. He's just got to recoup and kind of chill out and get back in that rhythm. Still going through the field. I was looking to see where Leininger was at. He's up in 7th now. A little bit of contact didn't really do too much for him.
Yeah, he's loose, but he's fast. So, you know, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. His average, his 5-lap average to start off this race is a 30.87, which the leader, Brian Mercurio, his 5-lap average at the start of this race is a 30.67. So pretty close there. We're seeing pretty even times throughout the field, but the real difference is going to be consistency as we continue this run.
Yeah, Atlanta's one of those tracks that's a ton of fun as long as you have the tires to do so, and that's something that's going to be very common amongst a lot of these races is tires, and more tires. You got a lot of guys.
And we've got a crash on the backstretch. Several cars involved, and that's going to bring out the first caution.
Tyler Riggs involved.
They're still wrecking.
Hey, because I also saw, who was that, Lowry there? Lowry involved in that one.
And yeah, you're going to want to show the 22 of Kenny Lowry. Yeah, he was involved with the beginning of that crash. Not saying that he was the starter of it. It looked like there was some contact before, and it just kind of got several cars out of whack there. And yeah, that led to a pretty big crash there. Yeah, you're going to see the 22 and the 63 here. They're going to get into each other before the backstretch. And that gets the 63 loose.
Wow.
Yep, he comes in and slams the wall, and yeah, just several cars involved in there. Bam,
57 of Adam Patet, like just coming in hot. He's going to have a lot of damage there. I actually want to ride on board with Adam.
The 83 of Chris Massey, his engine is smoking, and Did you say if we have a fast repair for this race?
We don't have fast repairs.
No
That's
fast
no
repairs.
fast
Wow. So
repairs.
that's a tough deal there for the 83 of Chris Massey and several other cars. But yeah, Massey definitely not going for the win here today.
Yeah, right on board with the 57 of Adam. He's actually, if I remember correctly, he I think he just joined this race. Looked like he tried to get it slowed down there, but unfortunately not enough to avoid the accident. So this is his first race here in this 4-race shootout as well. Hate to see it. That's a rough way to go. 14
And
laps in.
his engine was smoking too. So I'm going back and looking at the replay myself, and I think that was just bad timing because yeah, he got loose coming onto the backstretch. So the only reason he was down there was because of the fact that he got loose. It had nothing to do with trying to avoid that wreck. So just bad timing there for the 57 of Adam Pettit.
Yeah, we do have, I want to say, I know we have a couple of fill-ins. I know Joshua Adams is filling in for Justin Krasinski, who typically drives the 05 car. That's going to be, what team was he on? That's going to be on Apex. And I know Joshua Adams is sitting in 11th currently. Not doing too bad. And then I don't know if we got the clearing for Josh Robin. Yes, we do. So Josh Robin here in the 61 is actually filling in for Josh Personette, who typically drives the 61. So Josh Robbins is driving the 61, just got a different driver. And obviously his number is going to come up as the 8, but he's going to be scored as the 61 in iRacing.
Yeah, just looking through the field, man, I mean, it seems like about a fifth of the field was involved in that crash. We've got cars all over pit road right now trying to get damage repaired. Looks like Dallas Myhand has already disconnected, so he is out of this race. Chris Massey already a lap down. He is getting damage repaired. The 26 of Tyler Riggs. The 63 of Hank Steinmiller has quite a bit of rear end damage. The 57 of Adam Pettit, we were talking about him just a moment ago. He's on pit road. The 22 of Kenny Lowry took quite a bit of damage there. And even on the track, the 9 car of Joseph Causey, he has quite a bit of side damage. It looks like both sides of his car took quite a hit from that crash. So yeah, just a rough go of things early on here at Atlanta.
Yeah, we got a lot of people who might still be able to stick in this. Tyler Riggs had a lot of damage. I think he's still on pit road. Yeah, he's still trying to come in and get as much as he can repaired. But yeah, it's just a huge mess. I hate to see new guys coming in and not being able to really compete. Adam is a fantastic driver. 3 minutes, 25 seconds in pits right now. I'm just going to try and get her fixed and get her back out there.
Yeah, it's always a rough go of things when you get involved in a big accident like that this early. Just, you know, what, 16 laps down out of 130. That's a lonely ride there. I mean, we saw it at Talladega. You hate turning laps by yourself, but man, when you're off speed and you're, you know, Atlanta's not a huge track, but it's a decent size. And so when your car is not up to speed, it's a pretty boring ride. You're not exactly thrilled to be out there just trying to turn laps, but you know, there's always the chance of a couple of more of those happening. So you know, these guys still getting out there trying to run laps, even though they'll be off speed, they can still potentially get up a couple spots throughout the run.
Yeah, and during that, we only had everybody but 2 guys pit, and you see them right there, 1 and 2, Brian Smith and Brian Crocker in the 78 and the 03. Those are the only 2 guys that did not pit after that caution, so it'll be interesting to see how everything goes.
78 spun tires,
just like that.
But was actually able to, I think both of them ended up spinning tires there. The 78s was a little more obvious, but yeah, you are going to see him lose the lead very quickly here. I can guarantee you that. And yeah, Brian Crocker is already back to 9th place. He is really struggling to start off this restart.
Yep, 2nd to 10th within 2 turns, and it's not over for him yet. He's on the high side going into turn 3 and 4. Got a big old pack behind him, but this goes to show you that, you know, sometimes it pays off to go ahead and take tires. You got 6 sets. That's plenty for Atlanta, especially for 130 laps.
Right, and so for the front 2, what they're hoping for is that there's several green white checkers. So that's what happens when, when you have a couple of tire sets left late in the race. You're hoping that there's a lot of cautions and everybody comes in and, gets uses up those tire sets so that you have a couple of extra remaining. But I don't know, with 6 and only 130 laps, I don't think that's going to play really much of a factor, but you never know. It just depends on how many cautions there are throughout this race.
Run on board with Joshua Adams right now in the 05 car, labeled as the 95.
And we have a caution already. And it happened right in the middle of turn 1.
The Joseph Causey in the number 9's got heavy damage right now.
Yeah, you're going to want to check out the 03 of Brian Crocker. That was one that did not take tires. So and that's what happens. You have those old tires when everybody has brand new, when everybody else has brand new ones, and that's what can happen.
Take a look here. The 03 black and green car.
He made contact with the 8 car of Josh Robin in turn 1. That's what you're going to see happen here in just a moment.
Yep, hits the outside wall, tags the 8 car, comes back up the track, and unfortunately gathers both the 9 of Joseph Causey.
Yeah, and Joseph Causey, just a rough race for him. His engine is smoking as he's trying to make it back to pit road, so he's going to be on pit road for quite some time, and unfortunately that's going to knock him out of any chances of winning.
Right on board with the 03 of Brian Crocker. See what line, I guess with the tires you have, he didn't really have that old of tires, but old enough to where you couldn't handle the car. You're going to see it bounce off the wall just like it's nothing.
Yeah, and you saw it on the restarts. This is just lap 20. We're currently, the leader just started lap 21, and we had the first caution. So really, this is only, 15 laps of tires, and you're seeing what happens. The spin on the restart, and now, hitting the wall going into the turn, that's what happens. And it's just, this is going to be, that's how this race is going to be. It's going to be the story of tires. When do you take them? When do you stay out? And man, if you're staying out with these tires, just 10 or 15 laps in, you've got to keep that car off the wall, and it is much easier said than done.
I think that's going to put. Take a look here. No, Josh, unfortunately, another fill-in that's sitting in the 8 car, did receive some damage. I'm gonna say he could have been a lucky dog, but it doesn't look like he's gonna get it. I don't think Tyler Riggs took any damage off of that. So he might get a lap back. We'll have to take a look because he's still on pit road trying to fix some of that damage. So we'll see who gets the lucky dog. We passed the line here. But you got Brian McCurry on the 41, Scott Crump in the 51, both teammates, Stay Tuned Sports. Up front, Nick Massey still hasn't really moved much. Up in 3rd, Damian Leininger in the 12 car up in 4th, and Joshua Adams, a guy who's filling in for Justin, up in 5th right now. And Joshua Adams is another racer that's very, very good as long as he stays out of trouble. So between him and Tate Lytle, behind him in the 56, those 2 guys are going to be someone to keep an eye on.
And this lead pack that you're seeing currently just 8 laps worth of tires, and that does include the caution laps, so it's more like 6 laps. Most of the field did pit during that first caution, so don't expect, I don't think these guys are going to have too bad of a time keeping the cars under control, but that will quickly change within about 5 green flag laps, so it's definitely going to be interesting in a short amount of time.
As we're coming into today's race 2 of 4, the way that this typically runs is in most races you have like a single winner and they get paid out, but this time around it's going to be team points, but it's also going to be individual drivers that have the most points that's going to win some money. So $480 for the team with the most points after the series, $200 for individual drivers with the most points, and then you get $20 each race if you win. So you have a potential of making a lot of money if you're on the team with the most points and you're the individual driver with the most points on top of that. So that's a pretty hefty payday.
And you know, the last race at Talladega, they did give points for halfway. I'm assuming that's the same thing here for the top 10. Do you know
I do
that
believe so. Yeah,
for sure?
I think they're
Okay,
sticking with that layout. I haven't heard anything different.
so yeah, so how it worked was first place at the halfway mark was given 10 points, and then second place 9 points, third place 8 points, and then obviously it goes down all the way to the 10th spot. So being in the top 10 at the halfway point is going to be important. You're going to see these guys really start to fight for position at the halfway mark. Obviously, we're a long way away from that, but that'll be something to keep your eye on once that does happen.
Scott Crump is just wanting to stay out of trouble, stay up front. He's got a good car so far, 23 laps in. Pace car is off. Green flag is about to wave as we are green once again at Atlanta. Brian getting a great run on that restart. But it looks like Nick Massey is going to get under Crump. Crump was thinking about the block, but just a little too late on it, so he's going to be stuck on the high side. Come back to the backstretch here. We see Damian Leininger in the 12 trying to make up some of the problems he was having early on, but he's going to be left out to dry on the high side coming off of turn 4, but finds a slot. Real aggressive. Joshua Adams finally up in the top 4. Scott Crump still battling Nick Massey there, trying to hold on to that second place position.
And we did just get confirmation that there are indeed halfway points, so that will take place at the halfway mark.
Awesome.
And right now you see these guys, most of them single file, but that is picking up here
through
on the
wide
tri-oval.
almost,
Very tight there.
Seeing this Christopher Morrison, the 7 car, alongside the 85 of Brad Herman. Got a little dicey there, but they've managed to kind of figure it out. Oh, a little loose. That was Chad Wilson there in the 2, coming off of turn 3, or turn 2. He's in the wall now, going into 3. So he's trying to keep his car under control right now.
Yeah, and that's just how slick, you know, we talked about at the beginning, that's how slick this old pavement is at Atlanta. Again, the last pavement was, I believe I said 1997. Now, I'm not sure exactly what year Atlanta was scanned for iRacing, so it's not going to be as slick as it is, you know, today, the real life Atlanta in the year 2020, but you can imagine it's old, you know, it's at least 20-year-old pavement in iRacing, so it is very, very slick out there.
Everybody's staying just about single file. We got a couple guys back in the top 10 that are trying to get things going, but everyone's starting to slowly calm down here. See Dylan Thompson and the Thomas, in the 3 car trying to get past Gerard Campbell in the 27. But pretty much single file all the way throughout the line there, and he's going to make his move going into 3 and take that spot with ease.
I tell you what, Josh Adams, currently sitting 3rd, was making the move on Scott Crump, and Crump did go down to defend the spot, and you're seeing
Still
it right
defending.
now. They are way low on the tri-oval. That will get you really loose going into the turn, and he's trying to make an outside pass to Scott Crump, and you know, that's something that I was worried about, seeing Crump have the fastest time. You know, you can go out there, you know, we talked about it earlier, you can do those hot laps, but eventually it's going to start to hurt your tires, and that might be what we're starting to see with Scott Crump in that 51 car.
Yeah, you can see Joshua Adams using the high side, which is pretty impressive to get around him. He just does a crossover on the 41 of Brian Mercurio, and he's going to take that spot away like it's nothing. All right, he's actually going to stay in this one.
Yeah, it's a good fight for the lead.
Oh, in the 12 right there in the camera, Damian in the wall in the backstretch once again. Manages to keep going. Now we're 3 wide going into 3. No room for him. Doing a great job, and what a great way to avoid something that could have been disastrous.
And going back to this front pack, we're seeing the 48 car of Nick Massey enter the conversation for that lead spot.
Again, he had a terrible time at Talladega, but Atlanta, it's treating him right so far. Gonna get up beside Scott Crump in 51, try to take the position away going into 3. I think Scott might have just used up a lot of tires early on, honestly.
I think the top 3 have kind of used up their tires because, you know, this is what we were talking about. The 56 car of Tate Lytle, behind him, the 8 car of Jake Roel, they're all, you know, making the moves on these guys right now. Currently, Scott Crump actually, or excuse me, Brian Smith in the 78 had the best lap, that last lap, with a 30.7. And so you're definitely seeing these other cars start to come in, as they were doing a good job of saving tires earlier.
I'm not sure if you saw that there, but Jake Roel blinking quite a bit in that 18 car. Looks like it's under control now, but he disappeared for quite a while. Looks like he's got it figured out now, battling Daniel Baldwin in the 6.
And oh, the 18.
Oh my gosh.
Loose coming off of turn 2. And it's so strange when that happens, because you saw he was tight until he got off of the turn, and then all of a sudden, when that happens, you have to turn the wheel just a little bit more than you want to, and that causes you to overcorrect. So that's what you saw happen. He got tight, and then once he got to the backstretch, he got loose. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that you have to try to keep control of, because, you know, you want to stay off the wall, but then if you go too low down the track, you can, you know, if there's somebody right there, you can go around.
Ryan Mercurio in the 41 just kind of doing a great job of keeping some distance from Joshua Adams. Only about 3/10 off. We got a nice little battle in the top 5. Scott Crump still in it, hasn't lost that pack, so maybe everyone's starting to get, you know, filling it out, understanding what's going on, and starting to, you know, get those long runs in. So maybe we'll see some green flag pit stops, and that could definitely change the field up quite a bit.
Yeah, and right now the fastest guy on the track is the 78 of Brian M. Smith. I'm looking at his 5-lap average. Yes, I did realize that that's a feature in JRT, so I'm kind of looking at that a lot for this race. But his last 5 laps, he averaged 31.13, which is the fastest on the track currently. So expect him to be battling for the lead before too long. He's currently in that 6th spot. He has a little bit of distance between him and that top 5, but I think he'll start to close that gap here shortly.
He's kind of all alone, nothing really going on around him. Christopher Morse trying to catch up in that 7 car, sitting in 7th spot as well too. Damian fell back not too bad for almost causing a big wreck on the backstretch there. It's only up in the top 10 still. Not terrible, but how Joseph Causey's still in the pits. Fortunately, 11 minutes in, we got Josh Robbins in there as well too, 10 minutes in, still repairing that damage. You can see the ill effects of not having quick repairs here, so it's all skill. How I like to kind of compare it. Quick repairs, you really don't want to be as aggressive as you really want to be. You kind of want to just calm it down.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think twice out there on the track for every single move that you make. I mean, you just have to decide for yourself, is it worth wrecking the car? Because you just never know what can happen. There's human error, there's computer error. I mean, we see it with netcode all the time when you don't actually make contact with the driver, and yet you get involved in a wreck, and it's really, really frustrating. And so, yeah, when there's not a quick repair at your expense, then, you know, that definitely makes you think harder about every little decision that you make.
Absolutely, and looks like Brandon's in this pack as well too with David Duke, so he's at least with his teammate here. I was seeing where everybody was running as far as teammates and everybody go. A couple of guys from SRN near the back of the pack, nothing too crazy. Like I said, the strategy here, typically if I run Atlanta, my strategy is just calm, cool, collected, because I know tires are going to play out, and when you get those runs and you want to use those tires up, that's the time to do it. But a lot of these guys, even some of the bigger names, Dean Brummett, Gerard Campbell, that are actually quick guys, all kind of just chilling in the back of the pack currently.
Yeah, we're seeing Scott Crump about to get passed for 5th place. by the 78 of Brian Smith. Now, the last lap, Josh Adams in the 95, currently in second, ran the fastest lap, and we'll get new numbers here in just a moment. But the 78 still very quick. Overall, the fastest lap of the top 5 was Tate Lytle in the 56 car in the 4th spot that time. So these guys all kind of trading off that fastest lap. And yeah, it's very even right now in the top 5 overall.
Right on board with Scott. Try to see what kind of line he takes now that we're kind of getting into the later runs here. And tire wear is definitely coming into a factor. So we'll ride along with him this lap and see where he goes.
Yeah, I just realized, so I was giving Brian Smith a lot of credit. Now, he is quick, but it is worth mentioning that everybody around him is on their 29th lap with those tires. Currently, Brian Smith is only on his 22nd, so he did come in during that last pit stop to get tires. I did not realize that until just now.
Saw a damaged car up at the top. Scared me for a second. Didn't know who that was. Looks like it's Tyler Riggs in the 26. 2 laps down as he just got passed by the lead pack there. So even though he doesn't have a front bumper, he's still trying to hold on to it. Ryan McCurry on the 41, still our leader here, but like you said, everyone, only Brian Smith in the 78, I do believe, in the top 10. He's the only one with the freshest tires right now.
Yeah, and even those tires are about to be 23 laps old. So yeah, everybody out here at this point, you know, they're just trying to hang on to their car. I mean, they're doing a nice job of it, but yeah, I mean, this is where you really have to play with that throttle, because if you get back on it just a little bit too soon, you're going around. And you know, this is I'm really impressed right now, actually, because we were seeing how badly these cars were struggling at the start of this race in that first little run. But these cars so far seem to be much more stable this time around. So I think a lot of these guys have kind of learned their lesson.
Yeah, the not having quick repairs and everything else like that. The guys are doing a great job. We're going to start seeing the long runs come into play here, so this is when you're really going to see who has the better tires. You see Brian is passing his teammate right now, putting him a lap down, which is the 22 of Kenny Lowry. But it seems like even on the older tires, Brian has maintained a decent fall off from his lap times. Nothing crazy so far.
Yeah, it's about what we expected, but meanwhile, a battle for second place currently between Nick Massey and the Joshua Adams, as Adams is going to take it to start off, but Massey will have a little bit more of a run going onto the backstretch, and he is going to try the crossover move. Good battle here, but I'm sure Brian Mercurio doesn't mind seeing this, as he's just pulling away even further.
Yeah, so we get a little bit of racing up front. About time. Nick Massey making that move and clearing Josh Adams. Tate Lytle right there behind him too, looking for the opportunity. All three of these guys racing Erskine, so they know the racing style of one another. They've been around him for plenty of seasons, so we're going to see some exciting racing here up front once these guys get grouped together. But like you're saying, Brian, he loves seeing it in his mirror. He knows he's got clean air in front of him, nothing going on too crazy behind him. He's just hitting his marks. I mean, he's doing a hell of a job, almost a whole second off of Nick Massey in the 48.
Yeah, and Brian did run the fastest lap that last lap, the only one on the track to still be in the 31s, and that last lap is the same thing, a 31.973. Brian Smith was able to have a little bit faster of a lap with a 31.83, but again, he is on 5-lap newer tires, actually a little more than 5 laps, so as we do have a caution now.
Yeah, I was going to say, look like we have a slow car, Brian Crocker there in the 03 on the apron coming to the backstretch. I saw the 5 car, David Duke, look like he bounced off the wall.
Check the 03 car of Dylan Thomas. He's the one, he and the 54 of Brandon Browning were the ones that kind of got that caution triggered.
Take a look here at the 03 car in the Stay Tuned Sports. Battling the 54 Brandon going into turn 1. Oh, just unfortunately, Brandon just kind of hooks him.
Yeah, I think he got loose there. Might have even clipped the apron just a little bit. When that happens, it just sends you right up the track, and I think that's what we saw there.
Evans Point. Take a look and see what we got here. Kind of listen for this car to see where he lets off at. Or maybe he saw, I mean, I'm seeing it out of the corner there for a second. Maybe he thought Kenny Lowry in that lapped car, in that blue and black car, he might have thought, you know, the 03 was going to come down, possibly. I mean, there was still a lot of room there, and maybe just misjudged it and unfortunately paid too much attention to the lap car, but there's no telling, and unfortunately it's going to put a lot of damage on his car.
And by the way, we just had some drama on the entrance of pit road. The 5 car of Greg Olenek was about to come in and pit, but then all of a sudden the 11 car of Jacob Smith swooped down at the last second, which caused Olenek to have to slam on the brakes for his tires, and he missed pit road. So a little bit of drama there, just coming into pit.
If we can take a look, see what's going on here. So here it is, 11 kind of cutting in front of him, locking him up, going across the grass. So that is not going to look great for Greg. Everyone's going to have fresh tires, and I mean 37 laps. Old tires right there is not going to help him out at all. We'll see if he comes in, and he is.
No, yeah, that was not, I don't think that was much of a question for him. He was definitely coming in. It was just, you know, he had to react to the 11. Otherwise, he was going to hit him if he had, you know, kept trying to come down pit road. So just a little bit of a misunderstanding there. The 11 was trying to let another car by, and iRacing does black flag you if you don't let everybody who's supposed to be in front of you go before you commit to coming down pit road. It considers that passing under yellow. So it's one of those frustrating things sometimes, but you know, he was trying to play by the rules and just ended up having to miss pit road because of that.
This is a perfect opportunity to remind everybody that we this race is sponsored by Manscaped. Don't forget to go to their website, manscaped.com. A lot of different trimmers. I mean, you gotta make it, you gotta clean it up a little bit. You know that? Have you ever thought about it and you're like, you know what? Is now the time? Now is the time. And Manscaped's got you. So go to manscaped.com, type in Belly Up Fantasy, 20% off the entire order, and get it done. I hear lawnmower is a popular one. Lawnmower 3.0. That's what it seems like a lot of people are getting off that site. So, not trying to persuade you into anything, but if you need it, just let me know. I got you. Okay.
I'm just gonna stay quiet during these promos. You know.
Gotta love it. Only time I'm gonna be able to talk about balls on broadcast.
Exactly.
I love it.
So anyway, Brian Mercurio right back in the lead, as these guys will be on fresh tires. Pretty much everybody came in to get fresh tires. The oldest tires out there will be the 63 car of Hank Steinmiller. His tires will be going on 19 laps old on this restart. So you'll see him. He's already back in 24th. There's only 25 cars currently on the track. So he's not going to lose much position, but you are going to see him just get further and further behind. And if a green flag run goes too long, then he'll have to worry about getting lapped. So, you know, that's what you definitely try to avoid when you are saving tires. That's your worst nightmare, to get stuck out there on a long green flag run.
The lights are off on the pace car. Everyone's getting ready to go. Brian's just wanting to hold on to this lead, but with Nick Massey, Joshua Adams, and Scott Crump now on fresh tires, it's going to be quite tough. We'll have to see what happens. The green flag is about to drop, and we are racing again at Atlanta. Brian just taking off. Brian Smith there in the 78 with Crump and Joshua Adams starting to form up. 48 all by himself. He's about to have help with Dean Brummett in that 25, finally getting back up to the top. Just like that, Brian cuts to the outside. Not sure what was going on there, but Scott Crump is going to get a decent run coming off of 4 here. Ooh, and Brian getting a little wiggly. Oh no! And just like that, as I'm saying that, oh no, and Josh is gonna come back up the track.
Oh man.
That is not how you want to do it. I think Brian just got way too aggressive there. And I know Josh, the last thing he wants to do is come back up the track and try to ruin anybody else's day.
Yeah, there's just nothing you can do. I mean, you can sit there and try to hold the brakes all you want, but when you're in the grass like that, you might as well be on ice. You're not, holding the brake isn't going to do anything, and unfortunately, that's the worst place on the track that you want to get into an accident, because it just sends you right back up the track, and that is going to end the day for several guys. And man, this it seems like we use this word every single race, but this is survival.
The 12 car Damian Leininger got a big brunt of that one. The 11 car is also in there. Jacob Smith, the 03 of Brian Crocker, and there's 2 3s. Dylan Thomas in that one as well. Man, that was a lot worse than it should have been. And like I said, I do want to ride on board with Brian, because I just think he just got a little too aggressive for only what 3 laps in from a restart. Take a look.
Just looking on pit road, we've got the 16 car of David Duke, the 8 car of Josh, well, technically the 61 car of Josh Robin, although his paint scheme reads the number 8. 63 of Hank Steinmiller, he was involved, and we've talked about him. He had those old tires, and so he was behind the field when this happened, and so that's what can happen. If you don't, if you're too close when there's an accident like this, you get caught up in it, and that's what you saw with him. So just a lot of cars taken out there. That was a massive crash.
Yeah, huge crash, and like I said, we had at least 5 or 6 guys involved in that, and now they're going to spend their time on pit road to try to get things cleared up.
And you got to feel for the 95. Josh Adams had a really fast car. I mean, we saw him up in the top 3 for most of this race, and unfortunately, that just got him right out of contention.
Going to drop him down to 19th. Going to be a few laps down. Damian, another guy who was up front for the majority. I mean, he was definitely fighting the cars, you could tell early on and through the longer runs as well too, but managed to stay in the top 10. It's going to be scored down in 19th currently, so that's going to be a huge thing for his teammates as well in Apex Sim Racing, trying to gain as many points as possible. But the one person who hasn't seen a whole lot of problems is Brian Curry. I know we've been talking to him basically the whole night in the 41, but I mean, he's since he's gotten up front, he hasn't he's avoided literally everything.
Yeah, I mean, his car looks perfect. I mean, really the top 3 has been able to really stay out of trouble. We saw that green car, the 51 of Scott Crump. I mean, he started to use up his tires in that second run, but really, other than that, I mean, the front cars have been able to keep it pretty clean, other than this caution. That was just very unfortunate, but yeah, for Brian Mercurio, just having an easy go of things thus far. He's fast, and yet he's able to save those tires, and so just got to hand it to him when that happens.
And as you know, anyone who races in iRacing in general knows that you can be up front all race long, but what happens in those last 10 laps could literally put you as the person who led the most laps in a race to being the person who's at the dead end of the pack. So hopefully that doesn't happen here tonight, but we'll have to keep an eye out.
And another thing to keep in mind, these guys were just reminded, lap 65's coming up, that halfway mark where you do get points if you're in the top 10. So this is definitely about to pick up. We're on 1 to go now, or we're going to be coming up on 1 to go. And that is, or excuse me, we are on 1 to go. Sorry, I didn't realize I was in a replay just now. So we are about going to restart with 6 laps remaining to that halfway mark. So you're about to see business really pick up here.
Yeah, it's going to be 16 cars on the lead lap. I've had quite a bit of cautions early on, just about ever since the first one, kind of just breeding them now. We had a decent long green flag run in the middle of that, but now we just got to hope the guys can keep it under control and see how many laps we can get in here. Pretty much everybody, I would assume, came to pit road, it looks like. Yeah, just a couple of guys, it looks like, yeah.
The top 11, it looks like, stayed out, but they most of their laps on tires are caution laps, so I believe they only have 3 or 4 laps on those tires, so they should be okay here.
Pace car's coming off. Brian Mercurio is going to try and get a good reset, and he does. Scott Crump right behind him. Nick Massey trying as well too. Looks like we have a 3 wide action going on, and we do. The 85 of Brad Herman, 22 of Lowry there, kind of getting out of that one. All the action's going to be in the back, I think.
Yeah, we have so many off-pace cars right now. I mean, this is really, there's only about 12 cars right now that are really up to speed. Everybody else seems to be falling way back very fast. So this is just going to be, I mean, again, we said survival. I mean, you know, you do see the top 10 trying to get those halfway points, but yeah, a lot of cars just trying to really just, you know, get as many positions as they can right now.
So we have a battle for the lead with Brian Smith going up against the other Brian in the 41. Smith's got a fast car. I mean, he doesn't really have a whole lot of help, and you see Crump is all over the back bumper of Mercurio in the 41, trying to get him past that Stay Tuned Sports team, trying to get to the front. Nick Massey trying to figure out where he wants to go. Oh, Chad Wilson kind of diving down on the backstretch. Not sure what's going on there. He's going to lose a spot and actually slow down quite a bit there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, early on in this run, I think not only are these guys up front trying to race for position, but I think they're also trying to make Mercurio use up his tires a little more than the last run, because he did start to pull away before that caution came out. And so, you know, if you can put the pressure on the guy, make him be a little more defensive, make him try to be a little bit more aggressive in the turns, that can come into play as the run goes on.
Yeah, I don't think they've put a whole lot of pressure on him. Like I said, he's kind of been by himself the majority of the time. Once he pulls away, it's almost like nobody can touch him, even when they're grouped up. So I think if they can put some of that sustained pressure on him, use up some of those tires, it'll give these guys a better run. But when you got your teammate behind you, the 51 is Scott Crump, I mean, I just don't see Scott putting any pressure on his teammate this early on in the race. Battle here for 5th, Christopher Morse in the 7. Battling, who is that? Jake Roel in the 18. Finally coming into the picture up front.
See the 48 of Nick Massey trying to get a run going on the outside for 3rd place. He was able to hold it there. Did get a little tight coming out of the turn. We'll see if he can take that spot as the next lap will be the halfway point once that lap is completed.
This will be the last lap here for the top 10 to be scored with points. Got a bunch of different teams up here as well. SRN, Speed Racing Network, actually doing a pretty good job up in the top 5 right now. Again, Stay Tuned Sports with Brian Mercurio and Scott Crump also
we had a
up
car.
front. Oh, is that Christopher Morse? It is Christopher Morse. And he is going to be hard into the outside wall.
There you go, racing for that position at the halfway point. And you saw Christopher Morse. He got into the back of Jake Roel. Not a whole lot of contact, but it was just enough to send him up into the wall. And he ended up coming back down, and just very unfortunate. And that's really frustrating for Brad Herman, just the innocent victim in that. His car doesn't look to be too damaged, but you know, we're seeing that you know, a fast track like at Atlanta, any damage can come back to haunt you. So I'm sure he is not happy right now.
Yeah, and Christopher Morse nails the outside wall after making contact with Brad Herman in the 85, and it almost looked like netcode, to be completely honest. Like Christopher Morse was almost inside the quarter panel of the 18. Kind of see, this is a good glimpse right here, right there, kind of inside of him. It like shoves him up the track. It's just a weird way for the car to react.
And by the way, something just happened that I did not think I would ever see. So the pace car just got loose in turn 3.
Did it really?
It did. I did not expect to see that. But yeah, the pace car in iRacing does some strange things when it's trying to catch up to
I
the
want to see
field.
that.
And it actually spun its tires in turn 3. I mean, you can see the skid marks and everything.
Oh, who was in the lead at the time? Oh, okay, I see it. I wish there was a pace car cam. Oh wow, pace car is hauling.
Oh yeah,
Right.
the pace car could compete for
this.
this win if he stayed out there and actually raced during the green flag.
Watch him. He comes in hot, spins it right there. A little Tokyo drift going on in turn 3. I don't know who is driving the pace car tonight, but geez, he's got the need for speed, that's for sure. Oh, we got a couple of late guys coming in. Looks like Nick Massey and the 9 car of Joseph Causey again. He's 25 laps down, still trying to get the damage repaired, but it looked like Nick Massey made a last-second decision to come down pit road.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I believe that those cars had only been used about 13, maybe even just 12 laps of tires, and a lot of those were under yellow. So that one's a little surprising, but again, I mean, we were talking about at the start of the race about a second drop off every 10 green flag laps, and so these guys figured it's worth the gamble here. We do see the 22 car of Kenny Lowry. He stayed out. He is the only one who did. So you know, when you're a second off the pace of everybody with these new tires, you're going to get left behind quick. So I wonder if he's going to come down this time. I think he might be regretting staying out for that lap, but you never know. Maybe he was just trying to lead a lap and get an extra point or two.
I mean, we've seen what's happened when you stay out. It hasn't been kind to everybody. One of those being the 03 of Brian Crocker, who unfortunately it's 14 laps down currently, and so it is. I don't think the 3 car of Dylan Thomas, is that the one that's the other? Stay tuned. It is. I gotta see. He's got the 03 on, and it says he's 3, and then the 03 is a totally different car. So it's mind-boggling me right now. You see the 03's there.
There's several cars with one number in iRacing, but then their actual car has a completely different number. So yeah, it does get a little confusing sometimes.
But with Kenny Lowry staying up front, he does have his teammate up there, 2 of his teammates right now, in the 41 and 51 sitting second and third. So he's got a lot of rear end damage though, so I cannot expect this restart to go too well for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot your teammate can do when you're on old tires, so it's going to be interesting, but, you know, he's got to try not to spin his tires here. I mean, we saw what happened earlier, that when the top 2 cars stayed out on old tires, they did not get off to an easy restart. They both went, you know, both had their tires go around on them, so, you know, the 22 car is just going to have to be very careful here not to have that same thing happen to him.
Guys are getting ready to go here. Kenny Lowry's going to try and lead his first lap tonight at Atlanta. We'll see if Brian lets him have it or if he's just going to take off with it. This is going to be interesting.
Him, I would, if I were him on the old tires, I would go as soon as the pace car comes in. And
he
waited a little bit, but he did go pretty early there, and he's already getting passed.
Have to keep an eye on Kenny Lowry, see what happens. The 78 of Brian Smith been pretty aggressive all night. He's going to get around him as soon as possible. Jake Roel in the 18 doing the same thing. And yeah,
again, look what the difference makes. I mean, just 12 lap old tires, And this is what you're seeing. That is how quickly these tires wear out at Atlanta.
Yeah, he is losing position so fast. 1 lap in, he's already back down to 8th place, just like that. But back up front, Brian Mercurio on the 41 still leading this thing. I mean, he's basically led the majority of the race. Brian Smith was the leader up there in the 78. He's fighting to get back up there, but Scott Crump hasn't really done a whole lot to get around his teammate. Just kind of stayed in line with him and just been waiting. Look around the rest of the field here, see what we got going on. Nick Massey battling the 6 of Daniel Baudler in the 6 car there. Got Brad Herman. I don't think he took too much damage from that incident. He's currently sitting on 11th in that 85 car. Kenny Lowry again just continuing to lose spots in the 22, dropping down to 13th, and Joshua Adams is going to be the last car in the lead lap. Doesn't have a hood, but he's at least on the lead lap, sitting 16th.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the cautions keep coming out, he'll be okay without losing too much speed or too much track time. And I'll tell you what, I know you don't think he's going to put a whole lot of pressure on him, but man, Crump is just continuing to stay right behind Mercurio as he slips up just a little bit. Here, we got a good battle for the lead going on right now.
Crump getting a little hungry for the lead. Hasn't seen it too much here tonight. Wants to take that spot away from his teammate at some point. But at the same time, too, Crump he knows when to push.
Yeah, and luckily for Crump, dirty air not as big of a factor in iRacing as it is in real life. A lot of people were upset on Sunday when Kevin Harvick just couldn't get anywhere close to Joey Logano. As soon as he got to the rear of the car, I mean, it would basically just send the car right up. I mean, just really tightened it up because of that dirty air. Fortunately for Crump, that is not the case here, as he's able to stay right on his rear end.
Got a nice little battle now. Brian not been able to run away with this one, but that's going to give Brian Smith in the 78 and Jake Roel in the 18 a chance to catch up to this group. And we know the 78 is going to put the pressure on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he ran the fastest lap this past lap, a 30.301. Mercurio with a 30.404. So over an entire 10th quicker that last lap. So, yeah, expect the 78 of Brian Smith to really put the pressure on throughout this run.
And somebody we haven't really talked too much about who was up front, Dean Brummett, up to 5th place now. Finally getting a rhythm in there for Striker Motorsports, who is currently in the lead in the team leaderboard, sitting at 136 points. PRN, who haven't really seen too much of here tonight, kind of been in the back of the pack. They're 11 points behind that team at 125. So Dean Brummett trying to get something done here for his team at Striker, sitting in the top 5.
Yeah, and the last lap, as this one's about to come to an end, but he did run the fastest lap that previous one. And as we'll see the numbers in just a moment, it looks like he ran the fastest one that time as well, a 30.66 compared to a 30.662 for Brian in the front. So Brummett, he's being held up a little bit by Jake Roel in front of him, but still running very fast in that 5th spot.
And it looks like the top 5 is starting to run away. A big old gap between 5th and 6th place, where Chad Wilson is at about 2 seconds off the lead lap in 6th place. So we kind of got like a whole nother group back here with Chad Wilson, Brandon Browning, and Nick Massey. Then right there, Greg Olnick in the 5 trying to get something done as well.
Yeah, Chad Wilson and, well, Nick Massey actually did have a very quick lap that last lap, but yeah, Chad Wilson is consistently running 31.2s, so he is definitely not on pace right now, and he did come in to get tires that last lap as well, so I think there's some damage affecting him right now.
Back up front, top 5 still tightly packed. A little bit of a gap between Brian and Scott now, and it looks like Crump might be getting battled by Brian Smith here soon. Couldn't tell from that camera angle. It looked like Smith was getting a big run off of the backstretch, but now we're going to get back into tire wear.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm not sure. He kind of went down into the second lane before going into turn 3 that last lap. I'm not really sure why he chose to do that. Not sure if he was trying to, I don't know, take the draft off of Brian Smith or what. But yeah, we're starting to see Brian Mercurio pull away just a little bit, not by very much, but he did run the fastest lap that last time, a 31.206. So yeah, starting to create a little bit of distance here.
Now the gap between the front pack and the 6th place position of Nick Massey now at a 3.36 second gap. So this front running little guys right here are actually, I mean, they're running with it right now. Dean Brummett still putting the pressure on Jake Roel in the 18. I'm waiting to see if the 18 and the 78 are going to team up here and try to get around Crump and try to, you know, put a little wrench in this little team game they have going on. But like you're saying now, everyone's starting to kind of like pan out. So I think we're starting to see the fall off from the tires start to take effect, and now the guys are just being cautious.
And, you know, something else that's going to come into play is the pit window, based on the numbers that we were given at the start of the race, is now open as there's 47 laps remaining. At some point within the next 15 to 20 laps, these guys are going to start, you know, come in to get those last sets of tires, assuming the rest of this run does go green. But that's a big assumption. I think we'll see at least one more, but you never know. It sometimes is worth the gamble to go ahead and come in a little early, get those fresh tires, and make up the track position.
And you see Greg Olenek there. Typically drives the 84 from Bronco Motorsports, taking away the position from Chad Wilson on the G-Force Racing team. 85 or Brad Herman also trying to get in on this. Got a little bit of a wobble coming off of 4. Chad Wilson there in the 2. And I think that wobble was just enough for Brad to possibly take this position away. As we go into turn 1, we'll take a look. Looks like he's going to get him here. Yep. Cleans it up like it's nothing. Someone we also haven't really talked much about who is doing really well at Talladega is Gerard Campbell in the 27. If you remember correctly, him and the 9 car, Joseph Causey, pretty much dominating Talladega. Atlanta seems to be a completely different beast for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in 10th place, so not doing too bad, but yeah, having a little bit harder of a time getting up there. He's yeah, several tenths off the pace right now, but still, you know, a top 10 finish is never, you know, never a bad thing.
And Chad Wilson, saw that right there, got loose off the exit of turn 2, right in front of Gerard Campbell. Luckily, he was able to clean that up, and he's going to lose a couple of spots there as well. So some of these guys are feeling the pressure of old tires. Was that Tate Lytle? Yeah, that is Tate Lytle. Tate Lytle going a lap down there in the 56, that Busch car, our winner at Talladega, who's actually coming into this.
Have another caution, a big, some big time damage on that lap.
Corner of my eye there. To Tate, take a look and see if we can find out what's going on here. Kind of just saw it out of nowhere. Like is it the 03 car?
I'm having trouble finding it.
Yeah, it looks like it's the 03 car. I found it here. Looks like it might just be a self-spin. Hit him coming off of turn 2 on the backstretch. Yep, gets loose just like the 02 car, or the 2 car of Chad Wilson does. Just this time he doesn't correct it and ends up going into the wall. Luckily, that happened right in front of the leaders as well, too. Luckily, nobody getting any serious damage off of that. Kind of want to go to the leaders to see they saw. Or with Brian, we're going to slowly see the 03 car of Brian Crocker come into play on the backstretch here. There he is, up into the wall. And then starts to come up a little bit. Man, that's scary. Something you definitely don't want to see.
Yeah, definitely scarier for the leader. I mean, you work so hard to stay up there the entire race. You can't help but think that being in first, you know, you're gonna have a clean go of things as long as you don't get yourself in trouble. You know, you're basically in control of your own destiny. But man, that's not always the case when something like that happens.
So the race off of pit road there, pretty much the same as what it was when everyone went in. Nick Massey did manage to gain a spot off of Greg Olenek. Now Massey up to 5th. Or still pretty much the same. Really changed there. So now we're going to have fresh tires on the track. I don't think there is any person that didn't pit. Pretty sure everybody went in on that one. I'm not seeing one staying out. We got some lap cars coming in.
Yeah, 3 of them stayed out. They're going to take the wave around on this next lap.
Stay tuned sports guys up front, dominating Atlanta right here. Ryan Smith and his teammate trying to get something to go. It's going to be interesting to see how this unravels as we get into the later stage of the race here, and see if Brian is going to make a mistake, because he's been on his mark the whole race. There's literally not one thing I've seen that's just really done any damage for his spot.
Yeah, and this is where tire wear is going to be everything. I mean, these guys are done with the fuel strategy. They all should have enough fuel to last them the rest of the race. But now is where you're really going to want to save those tires as much as possible. 40 laps with these tires on this old surface, they're going to drop off very quickly. If somebody is going to get Brian Mercurio, it's going to be late in the run from saving the tires. If they're trying to battle him for, just lap times, I think he's going to beat him from what we've seen so far. And by the way, it's worth mentioning a 72.99 I rating for Brian Mercurio. So he has certainly been around the block plenty of times. So I don't think you're going to beat him when it comes to lap times. You're going to have to try your best to save those tires to get him late.
Person who's going to benefit from this, Vic Roel is coming into this in 2nd place with 41. Sitting in 4th right now. It's weird seeing the guys in the top 10 from the first race. Not a whole lot of those guys up front besides Brian Smith and Jake Roel. So it's going to be interesting to see how the standings play after we finish here at Atlanta. Tate Lytle, again, I think he was a lap down. Hopefully got that back. Yep, looks like he was the lucky dog, so got that lap back. Is going to be 16th. He's going to have to try to make his way back up front, but this is typical Tate. From what I know from Erska, this is what this guy does. He's going to sit back, relax, and just chill, and then he's going to hit when it matters most. Kind of like what we saw at Talladega. He got through that last lap wreck and came out with a win, and we didn't even talk about him pretty much the whole night.
Yeah, we went pretty much the entire time without mentioning his name, and all of a sudden goes from, a rather uneventful night to winning it, thanks to, his ability to avoid that last lap crashes. We have the restart here with 38 to go.
Again, Brian doing what he does best and able to get ahead on that restart. Scott Crump again there, but I think Smith had a little bit of a run, but now everybody's going to basically be single file here. Smith on the backstretch trying to go to the outside with his teammate. Scott Crump's still there. Brian thinking if he can't get it done on the inside, maybe he can get it done on the outside. Crump on the apron. That's going to bring him up in front of Smith. Oh, and that's going to scramble the guys up front. Nick Massey right there, though, behind Crump. The 18 of Jake Roel, again, blinking once again, something you don't want to see. And Gerard Campbell, I just noticed, up in the top 5 now. finally making some ground. And now he's up here battling. And we got a lap car on the inside. Oh, that could have been rough. Scott's going to lose 2 positions to that.
Yeah, and Jake Rowell voicing his displeasure there against Scott Crump as he did kind of force him to get right next to that lap car. So everything worked out, but man, that was almost a disaster in the making. That might have made you know, the 41 of Brian Mercurio and the 78 of Brian Smith the only undamaged cars if that didn't turn into something there.
Crump getting a huge run off of turn 4. Really trying to utilize the side draft of the 18 of Jake Rowell there. But yeah, I mean, the pinch effect basically. At that point, you try to pinch someone down there when you see a lap car, hoping that they're going to let off the gas and get around them. But Jake Rowell not allowing that to happen. Now Crump, trying to get around him, and I think Jake is giving him the old pinch down on the apron.
Yeah, Crump is definitely putting the pressure on right now.
The other person that's putting the pressure on, Smith, finally up here trying to battle against Brian Mercurio. Very aggressive. The 18 of Jake getting a nice little run coming off of turn 2. And now the top 4 basically just kind of running away with this one, even though they're battling.
Yeah, and I think the longer this goes on, the longer the second, third, and fourth place cars are battling each other, the more the 41 car likes it. I mean, if you're Brian Mercurio, you're just trying to just run your line. You're not even looking at your rearview mirror right now. You're just trying to stay as consistent as you can. As long as you can do that, these guys are slowly but surely using up their tires trying to keep up with you. So, you know, he is definitely going to benefit as long as these cars stay behind him.
See, we still have some heavy racing here for first, second, third, and fourth. Kind of like 2 little groups just battling one another. It's not like they're not gaining a whole lot. Smith's going to try on the outside, but not going to get it done. The outside's going to be really rough to try to pass here. He's going to have to try and gain that momentum in the turn and see what he can do off the corner, but might be able almost up to the door of Brian Mercurio there in the 41, but again, just can't get it done. Back
Yeah,
here
Mercurio, you see him staying low now. He is willingly giving up that outside lane because he knows, whoa, as we're having another close call here.
Yep,
Oh my goodness.
car, Damian Leninger making it not so easy.
But yeah, right now, I mean, you see it. Well, he does come up to the top of the track that time, but you were seeing going into turn 3 on the last lap, Brian Mercurio was just, you know, he was giving up that outside lane, you know, because he knows that Smith doesn't have a prayer at actually completing the pass on that outside lane.
From the back door of Brian Mercurio here, what he's seeing. Nothing too crazy yet, but that could definitely change. Starting to get a little bit of a gap created, it looks like.
Yeah, and the difference that I'm seeing is that he is so smooth coming out of the turns. Everybody else is just getting a little bit tight or a little bit loose coming out of the turns. A good turn 4 for Brian Smith that time. But you'll see coming off of turn 2, Mercurio he uses the whole track, but yet he's able to keep it so smooth and he keeps that momentum going onto the backstretch. And it seems like everybody else is just having a little bit tougher of a time, as you saw Scott Crump that time get loose.
Turn 2 seems to be where it's at from guys getting loose. I don't know if it's just from over driving or if it's just the fact that, you know, it's just loose off of 2, but as you can see, Tate Lytle coming back in the frame. Unfortunately, going to be going down another lap after he got it back that last caution. Just hate to see it for someone who had such a dominating run at Talladega, puts himself up into first in the standings, and now he's just trying to battle to stay alive. But back here in the second group, Gerard Campbell battling Nick Massey in the 48. Looks like he lost that spot a couple laps ago to Nick Massey. But this group was pretty much bunched together, and now they're starting to kind of fan out quite a bit as well too. So Brad Herman and Greg Olenek still battling for 9th, 8th, and 9th. And then we got Joshua Adams back into the top 10 after a devastating caution he had early on.
And back in the lead pack, we do see Scott Crump continuing to try to put the pressure on Jake Rowell. He was beside him for a couple of laps, but lost the momentum. He got a little loose in turn 1 of this past lap. But yeah, meanwhile, just Mercurio and Brian Smith kind of distancing themselves right now. I just don't think that Brian Smith is going to have enough right now. He's almost 2/10. In fact, he's over 2/10 slower than the 41 of Brian Mercurio. He is really starting to distance himself now.
That's something we've been seeing all night with Brian. He get into the long runs, and it's almost like everybody uses up their tires. I mean, he's already 2/10 faster than Brian Smith in second place on lap times now. About 3. Oh, Brian made up some time there. Only about a 10th off of the pace that time around. But Brian definitely has a long game down, that's for sure. Brian Mercurio in the 41. And that's something that you need to have at Atlanta, because that's basically, as long as you can keep it green, that's where you shine. And Brian is one of those guys that wants to keep it green.
Yeah, and the only car that was faster than him that last lap was the 48 of Nick Massey. So it will be interesting to see, as Massey is catching Jake Rowell and Scott Crump. Maybe he will have enough time to put together a late run. He's currently just under 3 seconds from the leader. That's a lot of time to make up. But his last lap also was faster than the leader, a 31.46 compared to Brian's 31.510. So Massey might be able to get in this one before all is said and done.
It's nice to see it there. Like I said, didn't have the greatest run at Talladega. Didn't even get to really start the race. It already was laps down. Then just had connection issues through the majority of the race. And I don't even think he finished, if I remember correctly. So nice to see him up in the top 5 trying to battle. But yeah, nothing much has changed. Scott Crump up in 3rd, still battling with Jake Rowell, who continues to blink. It's got to be terrifying. I wonder what that's like from his point of view. Like when you're blinking, you're the person blinking, does everybody else disappear around you, or is it just you who disappears?
Oh, there've been times, the rare times where I've had a connection issue, everybody is gone from you, and it's the scariest thing in the world, because when you don't see anybody else, you know for a fact that it's you. And so, you try to stay out of the way. If it's during a caution lap, you try to either go down to the apron or you go up to the very top of the track. But man, during a green flag run, it's either or. I mean, it just depends on how the cars around you react. There's times where, you want to let off the throttle, but then again, if it's late in the race, you got to stay on it. And so, yeah, it can be very, very scary for you when everybody just disappears and you're the only one out there on the track.
During that time, we see Nick Massey finally making it up past Jake Rowell, getting up in that 4th spot, and I think he's going to catch Scott Crump here most likely this next lap. I think he's been saving his tires, and now he's finally putting them to use. Gerard Campbell there in the 27, also coming into the picture finally, kind of been back there with the rest of that pack. Still got about 3.4 seconds off the leader, but seeing how Nick Massey's catching up, maybe Gerard Campbell in the 27 can actually get up there with them as well too. And we're going to start seeing these guys possibly bunched together. But one person we're not going to see bunched together is that guy right there. Brian Mercurio on the 41 now has a lap car in between him and Brian Smith.
Yeah, that lap car actually did hold him up a little bit during that last lap. He was 2/10 slower than a normal lap for him, but yeah, we're seeing the top 4 just now. They did run 31.8s. The fastest of those was actually Scott Crump with a 31.836. So, these guys not out of it yet, but if they don't start making up more than, a couple of hundredths per lap, they're going to run out of time here, as we are down to 19 to go.
And like you said, pit stops are out of the question. Unless a caution comes out sooner rather than later, we could possibly, 17 laps, possibly see some guys come down pit road, but it's going to be tough as we see Smith there getting a little loose. off of turn 2. Not sure what was going on there. Car wobbling quite a bit, but now he's got the lap car in between him and Scott Crump. But Nick Massey is finally on the bumper of Crump. He looks to the high side, sees that lap car there, dives back in behind Crump, and he's going to see if he can take it away here, probably going into the backstretch, really.
And we saw, looks like Brian Smith had the fastest lap that last lap. So he is just under a second and a half to Mercurio. So yeah, I mean, these guys, it's gotten to that point to where they're all kind of sharing the fastest lap. But, you know, I don't think they're going to have enough to get up to Mercurio. I think he's going to have to make a mistake at this point.
Yeah, and that's something he hasn't done all night. I'm not expecting it to change unless something drastic happens. But the rest of the field now, as you can tell, these guys, we got a lot of guys bunched up in the second pack, I guess you could say, led by Daniel Baudler in the 6. Gregor Linux is back there. Joshua Adams now up to 9th, being helped by Brad Herman in the 85. But yeah, with the lap traffic, it's going to definitely slow some of those guys down in the front, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But as of right now, oh, the 25, Dean Brummett getting loose again. Coming off of turn 4, manages to correct it. I'm interested to see how Josh Adams is doing with that car, as damaged as it was when he was involved in that early accident. Sitting up in 9th currently, so I don't know if he has a whole lot to give, but he's about 9, almost 10 seconds off the lead lap.
Yeah, and currently Nick Massey and Scott Crump kind of trading that 3rd spot with each other, so good battle there.
Nick Massey on the outside is going to eat up more of the tires. Scott's going to try his best to keep him there, but I think Nick Massey's probably going to clear him coming off of 4. It's hard to tell. Still side by side in the churn. Last place I would want to be is on that high line.
Yeah, Crump still hanging in there. Got very close to that rear quarter panel, but yeah, I think Massey's in good shape at this point. He's cleared him and has about a car length on him now, so good battle there for a while, but you see how much distance they lost in the process.
You can see there Nick Massey in front of Scott Crump, and in front of him you got Brian Smith, and I want to say Mercurio he's just now crossing the start-finish line, so he's coming into play with this battle here with Brian Smith. So only, I mean, what, 1.9 seconds in between. I don't see anything ahead of him that could slow him down, so as long as this thing stays green, he's got a really good shot at bringing home a victory, and that's going to be huge for the Stay Tuned Sports Racing team, especially since Talladega was not the nicest to him.
I'll tell you what, I think we will, even though there's only, you know, we're going on 12 laps to go here, I think we're going to see a battle for second place before all is said and done. Massey was almost in fact, over 2/10 faster than the second place of Brian Smith. I think he's going to be able to catch him before this ends.
Nick Massey, again, one of those guys that knows how to save tires here at Atlanta, knows when to push, and right now he is definitely digging. But with Brian Smith running a 32.07, 31.76 for Nick Massey, yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the right strategy right now. So hopefully Nick Massey can stay out of trouble. He's definitely going to catch up to Smith as long as it stays like it is. And then, yeah, we're definitely going to have a battle here. Now, will he have enough to make it to Brian is the question.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. He had a huge run on the front stretch there that last lap. He'll probably see the same thing here, as he is definitely catching his draft as well, so that's helping him out even more. And yeah, we're definitely going to have a battle for second within the next lap or two.
9 laps to go. Brian Mercurio, Stay Tuned Sports Racing, up at the front. Been up front pretty much the whole night. Looks like he's got some lap traffic coming ahead. Oh, Tate Lytle loose, as you see, coming into frame off of turn 2. Turn 2 being the notorious spot for most guys, it seems, where the tires just don't want to grip. So Lytle is going to go down another lap, scored 16th, 15 cars on the lead lap, and some big names, some guys that know how to race and doing really well, unfortunately out early on. One of those being Joseph Causey in the number 9, so we'll have to see if Nick Massey or Brian Smith has anything, but just like that, Nick Massey gaining on Smith, Tate Lytle coming down, letting these guys do their thing, but Nick Massey's definitely going to be battling Smith in turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's just crazy how valuable that inside lane is. You saw the 78 with Brian Smith right there. I mean, he willingly, again, gave up the outside of the track. Now, he wasn't able to hold up Massey, but that's just how important the inside lane is. I mean, these guys are doing whatever it takes to not have to be on the second or third lane in these turns.
As that was happening, Brian Mercurio now has a 3.1 second lead on second. We'll have to see how that affects Massey and catching him, but now Scott Crump in the 51 looks like he's joining the battle against Brian Smith. Gerard Campbell in the 27. He's being battled by Jake Roel in the 18. Jake Roel losing quite a bit of spots in the long runs here. Not up there with his teammate Brian Smith in the 78. So fortunately he's all alone. But now Scott Crump looking to try to take this spot away from Brian Smith.
I'll tell you what, if you're Nick Massey right now, you're begging for these two to get into each other. You know, bring out a caution late in this race. If you're Mercurio, you're just, you know, you're obviously you're just hoping that this goes until the end.
5 laps to go. Scott gets a huge run off the turn 2. They make contact.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no!
Somehow
Brian
able to
Smith.
hang on to it. Wow, that was close.
Jeez, and just like that, almost the broadcaster's curse once again. Brian Smith holding on to that one. I don't think he's. I think he's going to give. Yeah, I think he's going to give Crump a little taste of his medicine probably if he catches him again.
Yeah, this could be interesting. We're still.
Oh, I just heard a car. Where that was, but I heard a car tire squeal somewhere. I don't see a caution yet. A little terrifying for a second. It sounded like a car was wrecking in my ear, and I'm like, where's that coming from?
Yeah, the 27 and the 18 car got into each other. It did not bring out a caution, but yeah, there's some there's a little bit of hostility going on right now in the voice chat.
Nick Massey getting around at the 5 car there. I do believe that's David at Duke. 71 laps down, again involved in a caution early on. I don't know if Nick Massey has it. I think if it stays like it is, I'm pretty sure Brian is going to run away with this one. 3.5 seconds ahead right now, but he's got a lot of lap traffic.
Yeah, he has been running the fastest lap for these last several laps. As we do, it looks like the 18 of, or no, excuse me, it's not the 18 of Jake Rowell. Have a car, the 8 car, or yeah, the 8 car of Josh Robin currently smoking on the backstretch. It won't bring out a caution, but he's doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish this one.
He's going to try to bring her in. Looks like he's going to be fine. So staying green here, which is good for Brian. Could you imagine a caution right now? Ugh. Green, white checker.
That would be a rough one.
2 laps to go. Nick Massey still trying to see what he can do. 3.6 seconds off of Brian Mercurio. It's kind of just been his night all night tonight. Not a whole lot going on around him. Manages to get up front, has basically stayed up front for the majority of the night, and he's about to come across the line with 1 lap to go here at Atlanta, and he's just got to truck one more time. Look back in the 3rd, Scott Crump. A little bit of a gap between him and Nick Massey, a little over a second there. Brian Smith still kind of falling off as well too. Big gap between him and his teammate. But this man right here, Brian Mercurio in the 41, coming around turns 3 and 4. And man, what a huge race for Brian, as you see coming across the finish line. And just like that, man, just takes it away, dominates Atlanta.
Is the flagman gonna do anything?
Nah,
Or?
Flagman only likes to wave the green flag. That's all he's gonna do here. Gosh,
Someone didn't pay him this week.
he said the check bounced. Just like that, though, Brian Mercurio is going to be your winner here at Atlanta. Nick Massey finished in second, Scott Crump in third. So Stay Tuned Sports. I'm sure the 03 is going to give him a little congratulatory bump, maybe not. And just like that,
I think he saw how perfect his car looked, and so he just didn't want to cause a little love tap there.
Scott Crump, his teammate in third, up there doing a little celebration with his teammate. Stay tuned, as Alan does have some questions for our top three. Get that settled here. Everybody into the waiting room. Still doing burnouts. All right. Gotta make sure most of these guys are in the Discord so we can get some interviews lined up. Go ahead and Crump here. Go in our third place finisher, Scott Crump in the 51, doing work here tonight at Atlanta. Kind of walk us through how your night went.
Pretty strong night. Like to give thanks to my sponsor, Stay Tuned Sports podcast there, and I don't know, had a decent qualify. I don't know, first lap or two I was loose. I just about lost it there on the last restart, made me fall back to fourth, and then I burnt my tires back up trying to get back by them because it's so hard to pass. And I finally got by two of them, but Nick saved his tires and went by me, so I bring it home third.
Scott, it looked like there were a few opportunities where you could have really put the pressure on Brian, but chose not to. Was there a little bit of teamwork there, trying to stay on him without trying to pass him, or were you trying to get the lead and just couldn't quite get it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of team strategy. I probably could got to the inside of him a couple times, but I knew if we got side by side, that would leave us to the ones behind us and stuff. So, and I wanted him to lead the most laps also. So,
Yeah, last question. It seemed like you guys were doing whatever it took to stay on that inside lane. I mean, how important was staying on the inside throughout that run, especially as the tires got older?
I think early on you went inside, but later in the run you can probably pass more on the outside because Nick got me on the outside. He was just able to hold up that speed on the outside.
Well, it's going to give you a pretty much a big points lead here because now both you and Brian in 1 and 3. So nice to see you actually get into the top 3. I know Talladega wasn't doing too well for you. Of course, I'm not trying to be biased or anything like that since I race in the truck series with Stay Tuned Sports, but it's nice to see two of y'all up in the front.
Oh yeah, hopefully we can do it in the next 2 races too.
Absolutely. Well, is there anybody you want to shout out while you're here?
Just another shout out to Stay Tuned Sports and shout out to Brian for winning and you guys for doing the broadcast.
Absolutely. Well, it's always fun to watch you race, Crump. Can't wait to see what you do next week, and take care, man.
All right, thank you.
Get into our second place finisher here. Nick Massey. Don't know if he is in a channel. There he is. Bring him in. Nick, this is Josh and Alan in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, man. Second place. It looked like the car in that late run there was real strong. Did you have a lot of tire left over to kind of make it work for you there?
I kind of took the approach. I knew it was going to be like 40 laps to the end, so I kind of let the top four kind of stretch it out a little bit and kind of take it easy on the tires, kind of hoping for a long run. And I was able to make most of that back, but Brian, the 41, was just on rails tonight. I don't think there was any getting him at all. I mean, he was just class of the field.
Nick, so I got to know, you went from having horrible connection issues the last time we saw you to almost none this time. Were you able to figure out what the network issues were from last time?
Yeah, quite the turnaround this week, huh? It was kind of weird because my setup's been the same for a while now. Never had any issues until the last couple weeks. I changed my Wi-Fi antenna, and all seems to be good. So hopefully that's what the problem was here, and we'll be able to just keep going forward, no issues here.
Well, lucky for you, Atlanta is one of those tracks where it's just tire saving, and it seems a lot of the guys kind of burn through them pretty quick, but you managed to hold on to it. What was the take from your night as far as what you wanted to do? Did you want to kind of like hang back to see what was going to happen, or were you wanting to truck kind of quickly to the front there?
I started up front. I wasn't sure how what the tire situation was going to be like, whether people are going to burn them off. I know with these cars, you're full throttle for a couple laps, so you can try to save, but you're going to lose some spots if you do it, letting off early and whatnot. But I kind of took that approach, just trying to save my tires the best I could, because Atlanta is just so abrasive and hard on tires. So I felt like tires are king, and that would eventually pay off if we got some long runs. And thankfully we did at the end. That short shootout there for the stage was kind of tough because you have to go 100% to get everything you can. But yeah, it was a fun night.
Well, congratulations, man, on a second place finish. Is there anybody you want to shout out while you're here?
Yeah, just shout out to teammates on Apex. Josh Adams filling in tonight in the 95. Doing pretty solid there up until that big wad up right before the stage. But yeah, we were all having pretty good nights. Hopefully we can all have solid nights next week. It seems there's like one or two of us that do pretty solid, and then the other two get in crashes or something. So hopefully we can all do pretty well next week and turn it around. And hopefully the broadcast is good. Thanks for putting it on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been
What
a
do you
pleasure.
mean, hopefully?
I don't know. Josh was saying, I mean, he wasn't sure how you were gonna do and stuff like that. He's like, no, I'm just kidding.
Other than my stumbling several times throughout this race, I thought it went pretty well overall.
It's tough. I give you guys props. I did it one time. Did not do too hot.
I'm glad somebody knows the pressure. So, but congratulations, Nick, on the second place, and we can't wait to see what you can do next week, man.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Alrighty, stepping in the booth, huh? We might need to get Nick Massey up here if he wrecks out early. Give us some pointers, huh?
Yeah, really.
But that man on your screen right there, Brian, hopefully we're saying your name right. I never asked for a pronunciation, but is it Mercurio?
I'll take it.
Oh, okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, first place, kind of walk us through what the strategy was. And, I mean, obviously you fulfilled it, came home with a win.
Yeah. I know I had Scott working with me for a lot of the race there. Teammate here, us on the Stay Tuned Sports team. So he was up there for a lot of the race with me, just kind of controlling the restarts, whether he was in second or third, just kind of, timing those out well, making sure he can get lined up behind me, and then just kind of run 1-2 for a little bit until the tires started to burn off. And then, either he could try to make a move on me, or I can just kind of set sail. And, thankfully in the end there, we got a little bit of a run, which is kind of what I was hoping for. Yeah, kind of got a chance to really show my true pace and just kind of cruised away there.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like there were times where you were probably just kind of in a trance, just running your own laps all by yourself. We did see a few times where lap cars were, getting loose a good bit ahead of you. I mean, were there any of those that kind of had you, kind of worrying whether or not you were going to be able to keep it clean up there or not?
Um, I've had some run-ins with some slower guys running some official races, so um, just kind of learned my lesson. I knew I was going to be faster than the guys that I was racing in second and third behind me, so just a little bit of patience goes a long way sometimes. Really making sure you can get by them cleanly. If you have to break out of a rhythm for 5-10 seconds just to get around somebody, that's fine. Just got to find yourself again and get back in a groove. Just really be patient with them, and yeah, try not to play any silly games or anything. Don't do anything too risky, and just kind of stay in your own lane.
Well, is Atlanta one of those tracks you do really well at? Because, I mean, even looking at lap times in the longer runs, you were still managing to keep ahead like 5-6 tenths amongst the other guys. Was there a particular line you were trying to run that just others couldn't do well? Or was it just kind of like the, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it just one of those tracks you're good at?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a fan of the mile and a half bigger tracks here on iRacing. Like Pocono, Atlanta, Vegas. Those are some of my favorite tracks. But out of all the mile and a halves here on the service, Atlanta's probably my favorite. So anytime I get a chance to race here, whether it's official or a league race, I'm always excited coming in. So you know, already on top of that, I had a pretty good feeling about being able to win tonight. But put it at one of my favorite tracks here. Just being able to get everything done. It always feels good to win here. I don't know why. Something clicks about me in Atlanta, so that's always a good thing. I like doing well here.
It's nice to see
Well,
you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My
I was
bad,
going to
Alan.
say, if you get if you're in this position again and you get bored, you were almost 2 tenths off of the best lap time, so that's something to work for next time. It's
Yeah,
about
I'll
the
try
only
my
it's
best.
about the only thing I can see that didn't just go perfect for you tonight.
Hey, it's good to know.
Well, other than that, do you have anything you or anyone you want to shout out while you're up here?
Yeah. Give a shout out here to Scott Crump, here on the Stay Tuned Sports team. He's my teammate over at Lowline Racing. So he said, "Hey, I need some people to come over run this league on Monday nights." I said, "I got nothing going on Monday nights right now. I'll team up with you. Um, some pretty good prizes and incentives to running good here. So uh, it's always nice, a little icing on the cake, if you will." Um, yeah, and then like I said, all the other guys, Kenny and Dylan on the Stay Tuned Sports team. Um, yeah, it's one thing to win myself, but Scott ran pretty good tonight. Top 3 finish for him. Dylan and Kenny unfortunately didn't have the as good of runs, but I'm gonna try to pull my weight here, try to not only win the points championship for myself, but see if we can get the team championship up there too. So shout out to all those guys. Like I said before with Scott, we're both on the same team, Low Line Racing. Shout out to them and everything they do. I'm going into the NASCAR Pro Series here in
Nice.
November, so um, going to be excited to work. Or I am excited to work with them this season. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, congratulations on your win, man, and hopefully that momentum runs with you into next week's race, and hopefully we can talk to you again.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks again.
Alrighty. And that's going to do it here tonight at Atlanta. A lot more cautions than, actually, not too bad. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Once we got to the longer runs, it wasn't terrible. But glad to see somebody else taking it home. Brian Mercurio, Stay Tuned Sports team, Scott Crump up there with him as well too. It'll be interesting to see how the standings roll, because like I said, with the way that the results page is looking, we only have two guys that are in the top 10 coming in that finished in the top 10 tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely picking up. I mean, there's some really good racing in here. I mean, just, not just looking at the I ratings, but really like even the lower ones. I mean, Daniel Bowdler, Greg Olenek, I mean, Bowdler has a 1226 I rating, and of course, I rating is not the most important thing. You certainly know that if you race in the official series. There's times where luck just isn't on your side, and you can instantly go from having 3 or 4 thousand I rating down to in the 2000s in no time at all. I mean, just all it takes is a couple of bad races in a row for things to really just kind of go against you. But yeah, I mean, there's some really good racing in here, and yeah, it's been very impressive to see.
We got to give a huge shout out again to Manscaped for sponsoring this race. Huge sponsor there. You can visit them over at manscaped.com. They got a special offer going on. It includes free boxers, free travel bag, and free shipping. And according to Belly Up Blaine, the boxers are where it's at if you want comfort. But of course, like always, get the job done right with the right tools. Head up over to manscaped.com. Use BellyUpFantasy at checkout for 20% off your entire order. And thank you again to Manscaped for hosting this little race we got going on here. And next week, where are we at next week? Let's take a look, because I know Richmond is on there, but I want to say Richmond is the last race of the season. Let's pull that up real quick. Oh, okay. Hello? I lost audio there for a second. Not sure what's going on there. Sorry about that. It looks like... And of course, the one thing I don't write down is the schedule. When you have so many different leagues you're doing, it all becomes a blur.
Oh yeah, trust me, I'm there with you.
We'll have to get a graphic for that as well too, but I know we have 2 more races left in the series. I mean, it's only a 4-race series, something that's pretty short, but a short race, short series with big payouts. So we'll be here on YouTube. Follow us. Make sure you share the channel as well too. Catch us here next Monday, 9:30 Eastern for race number 3. And hopefully some interesting racing as well too. From everyone here at Belly Up Sports, my name's Josh. This is Alan. Y'all have a great night.